You're listening to The Practice of a Hoodoo Baptist, my personal journey of root work, faith, and ancestral wisdom. I'm your creator and host, Chelsea Von Chaz. This is where I honor the ones who came before me, share what's been passed down, and walk you through my experiences of being unapologetically aligned, covered by spirit, guided by blood. Today, a very special guest. I'm going to try my hardest not to fangirl out because I'm trying to kiki all the way. Today, I'm talking to Ebony Janice, a dynamic lecturer, transformational speaker, and multi-faith preacher? Preacher? For real? Okay, I'm gonna ask about that. And also a creative dedicated to decolonizing authority and reimagining liberation through hip hop scholarship, womanism, and Blackness as a religion. Her work sits at the intersection of spirituality, gender studies, because that's important, and Black girlhood, using dialogue and story as tools for both personal growth and collective freedom. Her latest book, which I'm definitely going to get into, All the Black Girls Are Activists, explores Black girlhood, ancestral veneration, and radical wholeness as pathways to liberation. Ebony Janice, thank you so much for joining me
Having
today.
me. Thank you for having me. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Because let me tell you something. This has had me and the entire book club I'm in the chokehold ever
Oh,
since, what, last summer, last fall, last spring? I was
July
about to say,
2023. We 2 years
because,
old in these streets.
okay, I was about to say, because for the book club, I'm in about 2, maybe 3 book clubs. But for my book club, I want to say maybe it was summer for last, but maybe no. I feel like it was just last year because
Mhm.
we were gifted.
Yeah, yeah,
The
yeah.
entire book
The
club was gifted the book
Okay.
last
Mhm,
summer, last
mhm.
spring. Okay.
Yep.
So ever since then, because we all, this is the first time, because usually for the book club, we either, we make our own purchases or, somebody shares a little link to a PDF. But
Uh-huh.
we getting better. We're growing. So we got the hookup and everybody got their own copy. And thank you so much for this. I'm,
It is such a huge affirmation, like,
yeah.
when the Black girls are like, "Your book," I'm like, "Say you don't gotta say nothing else. I don't even need specific." I'm just like, "Thank you.
I love it. I'm proud of you for this because
Thank you."
it is truly beautiful. And oh, and then I have to tell you, you inspire me because all the captions are in pursuit. You understand me? All the captions, whether it's my blog or IG, I don't even know which one I started doing first, but I'm always in
I
pursuit.
love it.
Let me tell you something. Last year for Juneteenth, yeah, Juneteenth 2024. I was in pursuit of popping out and showing niggas.
Hype me up with it. I love it.
I've been in pursuit of freedom. I've been in pursuit of switching it up. I've been in pursuit. No, seriously, it's ever since then. It's like, no, this is the vibe
I love it.
because I needed just another click and refresher to getting to growing and evolving into this
Mhm,
new space of womanism that I feel like I'm in, but also this new space of Black girlhood I feel like I'm
mhm,
in. Like my inner Black girl is she's having a moment that she couldn't necessarily have before growing
mhm,
up in Alabama.
mhm.
I grew up between Alabama and California, going back and forth. And I just did not have a lot of, even though I'm an only child and my parents, I would say my parents are Southerners because they are
Uh-huh.
very Southern. But as they have gotten, older, they've lightened up a bit.
Mhm,
Yeah, like, being, and you talk, like, it's so much validation in the book because you talk about it in the book, but I definitely was one of those Black girls that, had to stay in a child's place,
mhm,
had to dress a certain way, could not necessarily speak back to an elder, any grown up. I
mhm.
could get spanked by my mama, my grandmama, my auntie, the neighbor,
Yeah.
just that's just how it was. And I remember being a young Black girl and not knowing some parts of this was wrong and didn't
Mhm.
like it and just wanting to just like, get away from me. I remember being called fast, your
Mhm.
fast ass tail,
Mhm.
all of that, and I remember even then feeling "Oh,
Is that
this is a
right?
slur."
Yeah, this is
Like, if
wrong.
yeah, because I'm like, "I'm just breathing. I'm
That's
just
that's really where
smiling."
the that's really, Kelsey, where the in pursuit of everything really came from, though, is this idea that this really is a forever journey.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you think about I'm 42, you'll be 37 shortly,
Mhm.
being a grown woman, and as recently as yesterday, probably had a revelation of like, "Wait a minute. I
Yeah.
have been dealing with this or experiencing this or processing this way, and I never
Yeah.
had that language." And so it
Mhm.
is never ending. Becoming is a forever. It is the forever work that you will do. I believe that it is the only work that you are supposed to be doing is becoming, the intentional act of becoming. And what does that look like? That looks like pursuing yourself, pursuing
Mhm.
becoming, pursuing your healing, pursuing your wholeness, pursuing actual you. And so, yes, it is never ending. Like I have moments. I had a moment within the past month where I was like, wait, I'm grown. I don't have to do that.
Really?
Something that I've been doing as it pertains to my family for
Mhm.
years. I will say it, going home. I'm originally from Sandusky, Ohio, and my family, my grandmother has 6 girls. Of the 6 girls, only 2 of them have moved away from Ohio. And, so Ohio isn't particularly home for me anymore, but it's where all of my other aunts are, where my family is.
Okay.
And so I would still travel home, once or twice a year or whatever. And my last trip home was kind of the worst trip that I had ever had. I think that there were other experiences prior to that trip that I was having similar experiences, but being from an enmeshed family, you just kinda socialized into like, "Oh, that's just how such and such is," or "That's just how such and such is." But my last trip home really, really was very, enlightening for me because what happened was
Okay.
I was trying to get to diamond status on Delta, and so so I had, like, 2 more flights that I need to take this year. So I'm like, okay, I'll go to Sandusky. And so I flew first class, meaning I spent some money. And then from a little small town. And so I was not staying right in town because there wasn't the kind of hotel that I prefer to stay in,
Yeah, yeah.
if you're picking up what I'm putting down.
Okay.
So I spent a bit of money on that as well. And then because I didn't stay right in town, I had to get a rental car. So I'm thinking about this recently about how hurt I was from my last experience home. And I realized that I could have went to Jamaica.
Mm,
I spent the equivalent of the money that I spent to go feel isolated and rejected and
mm.
as an outsider and, all the things that I felt. And it hit me just about a month ago. You don't have to do that. You don't have to go there. It is not a
Yeah.
thing that you're not gonna get a whooping, you're not gonna get in trouble, you're not gonna, and so it just feels like this, like I was 42 years old having this revelation of like, you don't have to do that, right? You don't have to. It's like the good girl complex, the like there are all these things that you're just undoing. And so like I am like in pursuit of actual Ebony Janice. Actual Ebony
Yeah.
Janice would have took her butt to the Bahamas.
To get her groove back.
To get
Okay?
I would have got me some braids, shades. Let me quit. And I would have had it made. And moving forward, that is what I shall do.
I was gonna say, now you know. Now
Say
you
I
know.
said, say less, higher self. Say less.
But I'm glad you shared that because I think we all are still kinda stuck in that space where we feel like these obligations are just, like, set in
That's
stone
what it is, yeah.
and low key just obedience is just there.
And you ain't
Wow.
realize that you was still agreeing to
Yeah.
some stuff with your behavior that you really don't agree with. Like,
Yeah.
I don't actually agree with this. I don't actually think this is okay. And especially when it comes to family. And if this wasn't my blood family, there is no one else outside of my blood family that could
Yeah.
treat me this way and I would let you repeat it. Like nobody else could 2 times make me
Yeah.
feel that way ever. 2 times you made me feel that way, 3 times, 20 times, like, nobody else. I would look at my friends and be like, "Why are you in this abusive relationship?" Like,
Yeah.
and then meanwhile, it's your family, it's your cousin,
Yeah.
it's your auntie, it's your like, it's like but when you really are coming into your sovereign self, when you're really in pursuit of your sovereign self, you realize there is nothing that these human beings can give to me or take from me that will make me more or less God's. That's it. And
Yeah.
so whatever approval or whatever I've been seeking, talking about it with my therapist, but
Okay.
whatever I've been seeking from them for all this time, I am never going to get it. And I
Yeah.
don't actually need it, right? It's not, I don't actually need it. And this will sound a little shady, but let's just, call a thing a thing. Really, if anybody, let's move on. Anyways, what's next?
Okay, in suspense. Like, talk about it.
If
No, it's okay. We
anybody should be putting this, I do feel that way though. Like,
Yeah.
I'm carrying this family on my back. What do
Yeah.
you mean you don't fool with me because I'm not a Christian?
You know what? And you okay, even in the book and also online. I love it when first of all, your lives feel so intentional, not even trying to be parasocial about it. But it's like no, when you hit when you hit the live button, it's intentional. You're like, no, I'm triggered, or no, I just saw some bullshit. Let me talk about it. Let me correct you niggas. Whatever it is.
And I'll be
Super.
so sweet,
And then you hit
but
it
you
up.
know what it is. Yeah.
And you right, softness. Still in pursuit of being soft now. The softness is there. But I was gonna say you talk about that often from social um to your writing, the labor that black women, black girls are expected to carry. It's like this unseen, yeah, like this unseen labor. How do you because I feel like that's what you just talked about. I feel like that's what we are trying to, or what a lot of us are doing, is just to move out of that space where, one, I don't feel like I have to do this. I
Mhm.
realize I don't have to do
Yeah.
this.
Mhm.
I don't have to allow people to talk to me a certain way. I
Mhm.
don't have to care about this person or that person's opinions.
Yeah.
They're not obligated to my time, the entitlement. I can just turn that aside. How for a lot of us it's easier said than done. I mean, like, and it's part of the work of liberation, I
Yeah, for
think.
sure.
Just yeah, like for sure. Like, how do you define I guess, like, the spiritual labor of it? Because I think, it's some internal things first that you gotta, like, process for yourself and say, "Okay, I don't have to do this.
Mhm.
Let me move on. Let me just say no." I think for a lot of us, it's hard for not for me personally, I love the
Mhm.
word no,
I love
but
that
for a
for you.
lot
Mhm.
but I love that, I can say no personally and not feel no way about it. It's a no for me, dog. But I know a lot of us
No, yeah, it's
can't do
definitely a
that.
struggle. It's absolutely a struggle, and I would say, just a combination of that what's inside that question, like the spiritual labor, the emotional
Mhm,
labor, all the
mhm.
labor that it takes for us to even arrive at this. That's the reason why I said becoming actual Ebony Janice is the only hard work that I'll ever do in my life,
Yeah.
because it is hard work. And I will say that one of the most profound tools that I have used to support me in this journey is
Mhm.
inner child work.
Got
But
it.
I'm very literal about it. I
Mhm.
see the thing that's happening is happening to little Ebony Janice.
Mm.
And it is I have, you know, 40, really 30 some years in the game of allowing big Ebony Janice to experience certain things that I would never allow little Ebony Janice to experience ever again. Ever, ever again. And so when I talk about stop playing with me, especially talk about little Ebony Janice,
Yeah.
and it makes me this is my baby nephew. I said we were talking before the before record got pressed, and I was talking about therapy. I've been in therapy for a little over 8 years. I went back to therapy when my baby nephew was born. I have nephews older than him. I have 25, 18, 16, and then an 8-year-old. But the 8-year-old is the first time that I ever lived in the same place with my entire family in one place. And I had not been around my entire family in my adult life at that point. I went away to school and I never lived in the same place as my family. And so I was obviously had a close relationship with my other nephews, but not um to the extent of this baby. So I didn't
Mm,
know that they were being raised the same way that we were raised. And it was very triggering for me.
mm,
And I
okay.
I also didn't realize that my parents in all the years that I had been away as an adult still saw me as their baby, like, as their child, and, like, even though I have been paying my own bills, some of theirs, that they still felt like the way that they could talk to me and be in relationship with me was exactly the same way. So I had gone away and really changed a lot and evolved a lot, and in a lot of ways, my family, a lot of the experiences that they were having was still the same, and so I got into therapy quick, quick, quick. Call the doctor. Quick, quick, quick. Doctor, doctor, before I die. Honestly, girl got the therapy quick. And and I realized that one of my motivations was my baby
Mhm.
nephew. That
Wow.
from his from he's a fresh, clean slate. And what I want for him is to have such a tender experience in this life where he feels safe, where he doesn't, where he feels like we all got his back or somebody got his back, where he doesn't have to feel like the unhealthy vulnerabilities that I felt as a little girl and things that I experienced in my own childhood. And so I'm making this connection to my baby nephew, to little Ebony Janice, because seeing him grow up has helped me to kind of layer little Ebony Janice is now about 8 years old,
Mm,
and I, look at little Ebony Janice is in 3rd grade, and, little Ebony Janice, if the teacher, say something smart on my baby nephews, like, if I can't read your handwriting, then if you can't read your handwriting, then how do you think I can? And
mhm.
so how big mama is gonna show up for that is we don't talk to little Ebony Janice that way.
Yeah,
We don't if you want to offer some correction, then we do it
yeah.
with tenderness, we do it with softness. Otherwise, go ahead and give his parental guardians a call because
Mm,
we will continue to work on it, the way that we do. We don't talk to him that way. We don't talk to little Ebony Janice that way. We don't talk that way. And so I use what's happening with my baby nephew to really help inform the language for myself when
yeah.
things happen. So my dad, for example, it talks really heavy. He just like talk heavy. That's just kind of how he talk. He could be talking about the plants. Who watered the flowers? Sir, relax. Honestly, relax, Jacob. No, because I don't, because I have language, because I don't let people talk to the 8-year-old nephew that way.
Mhm.
Little Ebony Janice now has language for that as well. So I have told my dad over the last several years, Dad, I'm just a little bitty baby. You can't talk to me like that. You have to
Yeah. Mm.
I'm just a baby. Why are you talking like that? You know this is how I am. You're gonna have to figure out a different way to be with me
Yeah.
then because you cannot talk to me that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And as a Black woman from a super enmeshed Christian family,
Mhm.
it has been I have been, really ostracized and rejected sometimes because your family doesn't believe that you should go no contact in Black families for the most part.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I have no contacted a couple times because you're not finna talk to little Ebony Janice like that.
Yeah.
There is no thing that you have any power over big me, certainly not little me, to the extent that you think you
Yeah.
gon' say words out of your mouth to my baby. So, all those words to say, that has been a profound tool for me, and I feel like when I share it with, my dream clients, my Dream Yourself Free clients, they feel very similarly like, "Wait a minute, you're right. I'm not letting nobody play with little me." It's harder it may be harder and more difficult for me to create those boundaries for myself as, as big
Mhm.
Ebony Janice. Like I'm years in the habit of, performing a certain way. But when I sent her little Ebony Janice,
Yeah. Yeah.
everything must stop immediately because who do you think you're talking to? I was about to quote Beyonce. Who the do you think are you? You ain't married to no average bitch, boy. Yeah.
That's real though, because first of all, I'm proud of you. I commend you because the inner child work, really looking at like what happened then, what's going on, and what's still coming up for you.
Still.
What's still coming up for you. And I say I'm in therapy as well, and that tends to be my favorite part because I can go back into memory, use use my body, like pay attention to my body, like how am I reacting to it? Is it weird? Do I feel it in my chest, my throat, my stomach? Why am I perched? Like really paying attention to, is this something that my body has kept some type of like score or trauma
Mhm.
to? And I feel like, yeah, when you're talking about yourself as a kid, that's when the real work
Yeah.
starts to happen. Because now you're getting into like, okay, your programming, anything that you was lied to. We all been
Yeah.
lied to at
Yeah,
some
yeah,
point.
yeah.
The any lies, yeah, and I guess if there's any emotional or physical trauma, where do my beliefs start about other
Yeah.
people,
Where did
my
this
beliefs about myself, yeah, like Black girlhood specifically, like when you said it's sacred text, I was like, oh,
Yeah.
it truly is, and I love that we can talk about things and we can relate to it,
Huh.
and it's also a way for us to heal through some things. Like for me, for example, I started my period when I was 10, and
Huh.
I had a community. I had, mama, grandmama, aunties, cousins. I had a community. Having other friends at that time, I realized, oh, not everybody's situation is like mine.
Yeah, yeah.
And there was a lot of, maybe more shame there in their household for them. Um, they're hiding it already. And I'm like, I don't know
Why would
why.
we do that? Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
like why we do that. And it's been really interesting seeing even now, like, folks who are grown, because 'cause I've been doing doula work for about over almost 2 years now, but it's really interesting seeing folks who are grown and still, like, holding on to certain practices that they first started when they were younger, and that can be, it's not even just about, like, with the period, but that's just what I've noticed because that's the work that I'm in, but even, like, from the way that we wear our hair,
Hmm.
the way that we wear our makeup or no makeup, our beliefs of red lipstick, our
Mhm.
beliefs of tight clothes,
Mhm.
skirts can't be too short,
Yes,
your hair can't be, it can't be, I
'cause it
couldn't
all
wear my hair
means
pressed.
something.
Yeah,
'Cause it all means
it all
something.
means
Yeah.
something, and
Mhm.
even as a child, you're like, I just want to
I
look
just wanna
like
put these
Janet
purple
Jackson."
I just wanna put these pen tip caps on my
Yeah.
fingertips so that I can have long fingernails.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that I'm a whore. I'm 7. It doesn't
Right,
mean
it's
that.
like, "Oh, I
I'm
just I just
7.
wanna be
Mhm.
a kid," and
I
it's like,
was,
"Oh."
like, thinking 2 things when you were just saying that.
What?
Imagine if little you had this version of you to advocate for her
Yeah.
or to
Yeah.
even in moments where beliefs were being, you know, embedded into her
Mhm.
psyche for at least one adult with a little bit of
Right.
sense to say, "Let's think about that," you know? And which leads me to my second thought while you were saying is, I think a part of the pursuit of your actual self is interrogating everything, even the stuff you think is you really do believe that.
Talk about
Interrogating
it.
every single thing, no matter how firm you are in your belief of this thing, like, "Oh, no, I believe that." I'm willing to interrogate these other things. Interrogate everything. I remember when my best friend came out as gay,
Mhm.
not even bisexual, gay. When he told me, I was like, "You sure you gay?" It's like gay, gay. I remember thinking, "Am I gay?" Which feels like a silly thing to say, but I was so surprised by how seated in in his supposed heterosexuality he was, and that he had not questioned or deeply interrogated his sexuality to the point that when he did, he had an experience and it really opened up something for him. And then once he started to just ask the questions and pull the thread apart, it was not bisexuality. And the reason why I like go there or, some other, sexuality or some other,
Hmm.
preference or like reality of his, identity is because we used to live together. I saw him knock down hella baddies. So I'm like, what, I'm like, I saw you with the baddies. I saw it happen, and so it wasn't I am bisexual, I still this. And he
Yeah.
said to me, "No, being physically intimate with a man, there is no reason for me to ever have this experience." And I was like, "Oh, no, 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 you're actually gay." And so it was but I'm saying that to say it was we were in our 30s when this happened, and I thought
Mm.
he had never considered this, and I know this is my best friend. We tell each other too much. It's, like, a little inappropriate how much we know about each other, so I know it's not something he
Yeah.
was hiding from me. It really was like, "Okay, here I am processing this, whatever." So I thought to myself, "Am I gay?" And then I'm saying, "Am I a woman?" And
Mm.
again, it sounds silly, but it really was an opportunity for me to confront the
Yeah.
very cis hetero reality that I grew up in as a
Yeah.
Christian woman. I've never questioned what my sexuality was. I just have been heterosexual. I
Yeah.
never questioned my gender. I'm just a girl to,
Mhm.
growing into a woman. And
Mhm.
so, and while those are come to find out, I do like niggas.
Yeah.
It's really a thing. Come to find out, I really am a girl, but not just a girl, that girl, excuse me.
Okay. Period.
So, but it really was through like actually giving myself permission to ask questions that might have seemed silly, but the reality is interrogating everything gives you the opportunity to say, somebody else kind of told me this and I've never asked any questions. So what other things have I been told and never asked any questions about?
Period.
And so
Yeah.
now I give myself permission to ask questions about everything like, do I really mean that? Or have I just been
Yeah.
saying that? And how many times I have found out that I didn't want that. That wasn't my actual dream. That wasn't the thing that I really meant. Like here I am now uncovering these new, portions of my identity that if I didn't give myself permission to
Yeah.
pursue that, to ask those questions, to interrogate those questions,
Yeah.
and then I wouldn't have even known this version of myself for sure.
No, I feel that because for me, I had a lot of questions about my belief centered on religion and spirituality for a couple of reasons. One, I grew up Christian Baptist from Alabama, both sides family, majority Christian Baptist. However, there's a sprinkle of different of individuals of different religious backgrounds. Had a granddaddy who was Muslim with the nation, got a 5%er in there, got a Buddhist in there, got an auntie and an uncle that's Jehovah's Witness. You only see them when somebody dies, but you see them outside the
I'm about
church.
to say they be okay.
Outside the church. I always
Uh-huh.
be like, such and such died. Let's go meet Auntie Bev at the door because she ain't coming
Uh-huh.
in here
Yeah, yeah.
and she'll meet you at the house. A couple of Jehovah's Witnesses. And yeah, but overall, like and hoodoo practitioners, a lineage hoodoo practitioners on one side of the family. And I just never felt this need to like pick and choose one. I just always felt the pressure of one,
Okay.
mainly like to stay Christian or to stay here because that was the majority of the folks. But because I had these other really, cool individuals who never judged me, never picked at me, never tried to convert me and nothing like that. They
Uh-huh.
just love me. And I just, I can ask questions. I could spend time with them and it not be, nothing weird. But I really loved that. But it was moments where I just questioned, like, do I even want a religion? Do I want to have a home church? Do I want to have to deal with this and that person? And am I making my decisions based on, like,
Yeah.
my negative experiences because of these individuals? Like, like, I don't know, because for a while, I was like, "Man," I wanna say I went through a little phase, maybe, like, late high school, early college. I was like, "Man, being a monk gotta be it because they ain't really gotta deal with nobody." And they in solitude, and they just, like, they got their beliefs, they don't press nobody else about them. They have their moments, they have their sabbaticals, and, and they just come out of it with all this knowledge, and it ain't even about other people, it's just about them and their relationship. I was like, I'm not sure where I'm gonna land." So, for a while, I just felt like, "Oh, it's just necessary for me to keep my true beliefs to myself, or what I
Mhm.
truly feel
Mhm.
align with me to myself." So, as far as even with the tradition of hoodoo being in the family, I had those family members, they were very hush hush about certain things. They were super hush hush about their gifts. Certain people in the family have certain gifts, abilities. Had to be quiet about that. Have to be quiet about who we see in the house after they passed. We have to be quiet about any other practices that we did because we had one person who may, be going to church, but they doing their thing at the house, and that's why some people come to the house, mainly because they're taking care of people, because was a time black folks in particular, couldn't go to a hospital, wouldn't be admitted to a hospital, didn't trust being at a hospital, or so on and so forth. So just really I was used to just holding that in up until maybe probably about 5 years ago, where I actually found community of other people who had similar experiences, other folks who were also taught, like, to hide those parts of themselves and to just, keep it cute, because it seemed, with Christianity, it's like, no, this is the blueprint. This is what it is. This is all that matters. This is where you're at. But I was always questioning it, because to me, that's where I did feel a lot of the oppression happening outside of at the house, because I didn't
Mhm.
have that growing up at home.
Okay.
But when
Mhm.
I go to church, it's like,
Yeah.
now I need to talk a certain way. Now I can't be talking. Now I need to um be quiet about, like, certain things. I can question certain things. So it was just like, what kind of community do I really want? And what is it? Why can't I just really be myself in this space? So I had to look for some certain tools. And I love that you talked about tools and certain practices, prayer, ritual, looking at what ritual is in your own way, personal way, and keeping away of things being demonic, because I've heard that so much of my life,
Mhm.
as far as things being labeled demonic,
Everything is
and it's,
demonic.
that black girl and the Bible Belt for sure. Um, what was something that, because, yeah, like, I don't want to ramble, but because I love what you're saying. It's like, yeah, I feel like we can all relate to these things.
Sure.
But what, yeah, for sure. Like, but I would like to know, because you have really tapped into, I love that you share your journey to ATRs, African traditional religions. I love that you share your journey there, as far as what you have shared online. And I loved that you speak about ancestor veneration, reverence, which is something that I have talked about and done before I had the language. So I
We
love
all
that
do.
there's, yeah, yeah. It's like
Even my
we've been
Christian
doing
family
it.
members are venerating their ancestors. They just
Yeah,
don't have those portions demonic. My aunt
yeah.
was in chat, dropped off a picture of some purple flowers that she went to put on my
Mhm.
grandma's tomb, and I commented in the group chat and was like, "What beautiful ancestral veneration." And my sister sent me a side text and was like, "Bitch, shut up. You know what you're doing over here. You know what you're doing." 'Cause
No, you
I just like to point out that this is beautiful
yeah.
ancestral veneration.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, no, but you telling it like it is. It really labeling it. But yeah, it still scares people, but it's like, no, like you have the language now. I did want you to share your journey though, like because I think because when a lot of people, not a lot of people, but there's some folks I know who are in the practice, in the tradition, and they had a moment where they just completely left the church due to
Okay.
like
Mhm,
trauma, or just being like completely shunned and pushed out because of their sexuality,
mhm,
because of their beliefs, because of them not having any like white ideology,
mhm.
like thoughts and practices. So how did the tradition find you? I was gonna say like, about your journey, but how did this start for you as far as your journey from Christianity or uphold into now?
An Ibeji album. They were their album was used in a, Alvin Ailey v
Huh?
production, basically the whole album, and I went to see that production, and I felt what I had only had language for as the Holy Ghost pretty much throughout
Mhm.
the whole thing, and it just was kind of the end of that story for me. I was already in my theological shift at the time,
Okay.
but that was very like, "What is this?" What is this, specifically for me right now in this moment? And the
Mhm.
wild thing about that is I say that it was that album, but I also was already interested in this concept of my Blackness as my religion prior to that. So that was kind of brewing around. And then when Lemonade came out,
Mhm.
probably about a year or so before then, I had pitched to teach this class for a teaching fellowship when I was in grad school getting my master's. It's called the Black Girl Magic and Beyonce's Lemonade. I can't remember the subtitle, but it's basically um unraveling all of the unraveling all of the Black spirituality in Beyonce's visual album.
Mhm. Got
And
it.
so it got accepted for me to teach it. So I ended up teaching this for my teaching fellowship when I was getting my master's degree.
Nice.
And so I was kind of already studying,
Okay.
but I wasn't just focused on Ifa. Um,
Mhm.
I was because there's the final call, so there's Black Muslims, there's her standing on the hat as Marie Laveau, there's voodoo, there is obviously hoodoo, there's Southern
Mhm.
Black Christianity. There's all this Black religion that's happening in Lemonade that we don't necessarily talk about a
At
lot
all. Mhm.
because the focus on Oshun ends up happening so much. But I was from, formation, I was sold. As a matter of fact, before all of Lemonade even came out, I wrote my little pitch for this class because formation has all of that in it.
Yeah.
Like, all of that is there. Particularly, I wasn't even thinking about EFI at the time, because what happened at the New Orleans? Like, this is New Orleans. This is absolutely, voodoo, New Orleans voodoo. There is Southern Black Christianity, there's hoodoo. Like, those things are obviously present, happening in this visual before we even get this full, like, love
Yeah.
letter to Blackness as a religious expression. So I
Yeah.
kind of been thinking about it from an intellectual perspective for a while, and then Alvin Ailey's production, I went to see it in San Francisco, and I, like I said, felt what I only had the language of at the time as the Holy Ghost, and I just kind of was in pursuit. I say I was in pursuit of it, but I believe that, Obatala was in pursuit of me,
Mhm.
who was in pursuit of me, my ancestors were in pursuit of me, that they were gonna figure out if it wasn't this, it was gonna be this. If it wasn't this, it was gonna be this. And it's like, "Okay, you're not ready to, like, ask some specific questions? Let's give you some specific questions to ask. What is Ibeji? What are they talking about when they are singing about Oya? What are they talking about when they say come to the river? What are they talking about, what is this about?" And
Yeah.
so that was really kind of the beginning. I don't know that I've ever told that story before. It's kinda the beginning of.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, exclusive. Yeah, because I think No, for real, because, I think it's important, like, my intention with this, or one of my intentions with this platform, is for folks to be educated, um, understand that there are Black spiritualities. We have African traditional religions, African derived religions, and to actually hear people's journeys to these spaces, how they got there, or where it happened, where it clicked for them. And I think a lot of folks would appreciate just understanding more about the Orishas, and how we have these gods, beings that
Guide,
are,
not
yeah,
yeah, because Ifa is monotheistic, so
yeah,
we are not worshiping the Orisha. We are
yeah,
worshiping one God, but
yeah.
the manifestations of God through these
Through
guides,
these,
through these
mhm.
forms, right? For
Yeah.
sure. Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Thank you, because yeah, I think it's just so important for folks to hear your perspective, one, and to see how it comes up in so many ways. I love that you did mention Beyonce's Lemonade album, because I too felt like this was such a that album is a really beautiful love letter to the culture
Huh.
that I think a lot of folks don't talk about. I saw a lot of Black spiritualities, Black religion in
Huh.
that album visually. I just don't like that that was when the white folks discovered her, low key, like, really diving into the work, in my opinion, because it was
Okay.
just like this. It was a shift, because it wasn't Sasha Fierce, because that's kind of where I think more folks, non-Black folks, caught on in that era. But I think they saw us diving, because we're in the digital
Yeah.
age now, so that's
Yeah, yeah,
when,
yeah.
like, they really are ingesting in the same things that we are, and really
Huh.
diving into the think pieces, all the coverage, because we Black women, like, we love that album, and we
Yes.
really talked about it. We broke it down. I think that's where I think it's beautiful that a lot of Black girls, Black women discovered um Oshun, and had those conversations, because it opens them up to more Orishas, and just that knowledge, and just to go beyond, like, lyrically, what she's saying, what she's talking about. So yeah, I love that. But I just roll my eyes, because I remember during that time it just seemed like white folks was really in our business around that time online, as we're really trying to enjoy that album. But I also kind of felt that way when I was at the Renaissance tour. But anyway,
Feel that way about everything.
uh,
Yeah, mind your business.
okay, I'm not alone.
But it's your cousin's fault though, because your cousins don't know how to appreciate something and gatekeep at the same time. Be quiet,
Yeah.
silly. Be quiet. If I say something and it's because I speak one of the languages that I speak in multiple languages. One of the languages that I speak is I speak in the color purple. So if
Mm,
I say something, you know, sugar like honey, I like a bee, right? And you bring your ASS into the comment section and say what I'm talking about, shut the FUCK up. That's so silly. Who I was talking to
mm.
knew who I was talking to.
Yeah.
Why do y'all do that? Stop it. Stop
Yeah.
it. We can have coded language. We can speak to each other. We can be in community with each other
Talk about it.
publicly without break it every single thing down. Yeah, and then the next thing she said was, "Shut up." I'm not just gonna block you, I'm reporting you.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I be
I'm gonna
reporting
report your
folks,
page
child.
first. Shut it up. Learn how to gatekeep, Ashy.
Cause it's ruining everything.
It's ruining everything, it's hilarious.
It is. No, I'm just thinking about other shit. Like, it's ruining
Be
everything.
quiet, guys. Get out this comment section saying what we talk about. And even if there are people who misunderstand, like, even if there are people who are in the comment section like, "I don't know what this
Mhm.
means," I'm not talking to you then, it's okay.
Yeah.
Every There are so many conversations that happen on social media on a daily basis that don't have anything to do with me. And I don't be in the comment section like, "Hey, Bob, explain a chord to me." I don't care. It's not my business. You weren't talking to me.
I don't wanna
Meanwhile,
know half the time. I don't wanna know.
I don't I don't need to know. It's just not for me. So, yeah, I definitely think that we have to gatekeep more. I love the title of your podcast though, because I feel like in this particular moment, what we
Mhm.
talking about because, of course, hoodoo is also something that your cousins are not doing the best job of gatekeeping. You know, we can talk about things publicly
Yeah.
and feel excited that more people are interested in doing the decolonization work of understanding hoodoo as not something that is demonic
Right.
and also understanding the difference between hoodoo and voodoo, and also understanding right, like, all of these things
Yeah.
without being like, "Step 1, why are you doing that? Why are you saying that?"
Listen, that's why I made it very clear, like in my intro episode, like if you are looking for a spell, you're not gonna get it out of me. This is not the space for you. Like, no,
What are you
you need
doing?
to have a black ass grandma to understand what I'm saying. Your grandma and great grandma should be, or at least could be allowed to say nigga, not
Mhm.
no non-black person. No, not a half or two-thirds. No, real black
And
over
also,
here.
you brought up memory earlier, and I
Mhm.
always bring, Zora Neale Hurston and Toni Morrison into any conversation about hoodoo. For those who are interested, this you may be the first person in your family to be able to really talk about
Yeah.
that this is what this is without
Yeah.
fear of being, demonized in the same ways that our elders were.
Yeah.
Um, and as a result, a lot of the codes, a lot of the spells, a lot of the mysteries may have been even lost in your family. And so you're
Mhm.
looking for other people publicly to
Mhm.
like you're like, I have this memory of these things when I was a child, but I don't. So I know something was going on, but
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know. I didn't get like passed on like, whatever. And then maybe now those people are now those elders are now ancestors, and so you don't even know where to go. Well, this is where Zora Neale Hurston and Toni Morrison's contributions to memory is so
Mhm.
profound because Zora Neale Hurston says the rocks have memories. Toni Morrison takes it even further and she says, well, I won't say she takes it even further, but she takes it and she says, like Zora Neale Hurston said, if the rocks have memories, Toni Morrison says, then clearly our spirits have a memory. And so there's just no way. This is part of also what I feel about womanist theology, particularly as a Southern Baptist girl, because I grew up Baptist as well, and I'm ordained to preach in the Baptist church. So I'm tickled by you, Hoodoo Baptists, because but that
Yes.
that there are that we have to believe our spiritual knowing is the gospel
Mhm.
because for Black Americans in particular, there is destroyed intentionally, there is lost, and there is just little documentation in a lot of ways. So what
Yeah.
you would have to believe that God forgot about us, or you would have to believe that God doesn't care about us for us to be one of the only groups of people to have had our history and so much of our heritage blotted out. It's now even illegal to teach about it, right? Which
Yeah.
also is a thing that I say often. It's demonic and it's illegal. It
Yeah.
sounds like you should be trying to figure out what they're trying to keep from you, but that's just me.
Absolutely.
But so this comes to me and I'm like, God hasn't forgotten me. So my spirit, I trust it like there it this thing that is deposited into my spirit, I trust it like somebody wrote this down and passed me, put it in a piece of paper and put it in a little conjure bag and handed it to me. I know this is the truth. I know this is the truth. There is no way that, especially based on the way that I was socialized in an anti-black, anti-black everything, especially my religion and my spirituality, there's
Yeah.
no way that I would know this thing that I know. So while this may not have been documented in the way that these other sacred texts, quote fingers, were documented, my heritage, my history, my spirituality hasn't been lost. I just have to do the deep excavation work of trusting and believing when this comes up for me. And the beautiful thing about that is when I'm on this journey, it brings me into community with people who can then share more with me because made myself I have shown myself trustworthy in this intimate community, and
Mhm.
now it is possible for me to be in relationship with information that you might have that I didn't have other than these things that spirit had revealed to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm. I am the f I'm definitely the first to it's not living in silence for me.
Uh-huh. Got it. Uh-huh.
It's, um I do believe it is my way of reclaiming what cannot be outside,
Yeah.
what cannot be
Sure.
openly passed down. That's what it feels like to me, and I'm really grateful for the community that I have found of, majority beautiful Black women from all over and who have these um beautiful stories and ways and practices
Huh?
that have truly poured into me, whether someone who practices Ifa, Santeria, Candomblé,
Mhm.
just who do all of us just it's like, no, we're here reclaiming.
Yeah.
We're all just here reclaiming our shit. And yeah, I feel more determined now than I ever have, because even when I remember being a teenager and still feeling the feels, it's like, I know what this is, and still,
Yeah.
I had
Yeah.
mad questions, because my mother grew up with her grandmother. She was the straight up practitioner. My mama said they were never sick as kids.
Yeah.
She did not allow anybody in their house.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Nobody white
Yeah.
could come near them. And my mom shared that because I took my mother to see sinners. I already knew stories about my great grandmother, Mobile.
My grandmother's from Talladega. I just got emotional thinking about the fact that
Okay.
the things that you're saying is the way that I was raised, but in Ohio.
Hmm.
But my grandmother's from
Mm.
Talladega, Alabama.
Okay.
Very Christian, so
Yeah.
she would have
Yeah.
not said ABCG whatsoever, but we were not sick.
Yeah.
There were so many things and the way that my grandmother interacted with white people was also a very unique and particular way. And
Mm-hmm.
so when I heard you say that and I heard you say that you're from Alabama, I'm like, "Where you at?"
Oh my goodness. Mobile, Alabama, born and raised. I didn't move to Cali till I was a teenager, but my mother and both of my parents, they still together, both of them. Alabama, Jim Crow era.
Huh?
My great grandmother, my mother said when she went to see Sinners, when I took her to see Sinners, my grandmother, she was like, "Yeah, Madea is Annie, but she looked like Mary,
Huh.
and she could speak another language, but she rarely spake it because Creole
Of
likely
course.
was the
Uh-huh.
language, but she didn't really speak it around them. And they were never sick. She had a salve, a concoction. She made her own hooch. She just
Honey,
did everything. She
my grandma
cooked.
would make a no
She
hooch,
did
but
not. Oh, for real. She did not. They were not allowed. My mama said the first time she had fast food, she was in either the ninth or the 10th grade where she had Burger King for the first time. But other than that, they only cooked her food
yeah.
in the
Uh-huh.
house, and that was it. And she said it really makes her a little sad and emotional because it's certain things that she remembers, but unfortunately my grandmother has dementia right now. So when I'm asking her questions, it just comes in like waves. And some things she actually does remember, but it's so hard for her to really pinpoint it. But she was like, "Yeah, we never questioned her. We
Uh-huh.
never asked questions.
Yeah.
She just would put stuff in our hand and say, 'Drink this, eat
Yeah.
this, go
Yeah.
take this to such and such. They can't come over here. Go take this to such and such.' If somebody came over to the house and they brought food, she like, 'Oh, okay. Thank you, baby. Thank you.' And then tell my
In the
mama, 'Go
trash.
throw that in the
Yeah.
trash.'"
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And she's like, "It's protection." They prayed over everything, had holy water, bottle holy water in her bag, but also a little pint of hooch. They grew up with altars, didn't really call it an altar,
Of
but
course
that's
not.
just what.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
like, just had it right there. So it's really cool. I'm just super grateful to have my mother with me openly talking about, because she knows about the podcast.
Uh-huh.
I told her I was gonna speak to so many different people. She's been with me to Buku Hoodoo Fest in New Orleans. Like, I'm just so grateful to have my mother in the space she's in now. Even also my dad too. Um, like, their own like liberation of like, wow, like this is really what it is. This is just black culture. This
Yeah,
is
yeah,
just
yeah.
African. This is just ours. It
There's
has
something
nothing to do with
about
white people.
Yeah, I wonder if it's something about your parents being like my dad is from Meridian, Mississippi.
Okay.
My mother was born in Michigan though, and then grew up in the Midwest. So, but they're the only ones of my great grandmother, Mama Dia,
Mhm.
her children. My grandmother, Emma Jane, is the only one that moved away.
Okay.
And so they are actually considered the city kids, even though I don't know why they were calling Sandusky, Ohio, the city, but of course it's not Talladega, Alabama. So
The
very,
South. Out
yeah,
the
out the
South.
South, so you're in the city. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there is a hearing you talk about your parents' capacity to be in relationship even with the, intricacies and the, nuances of what you're navigating right now, because so much of it is things that is sacred memory for them. And
Mhm.
so they can't necessarily be like, "You going to hell," because they grew up with those
Yeah.
practices.
Yeah.
Whereas, for my dad, it's less of a conversation, my journey.
Mm.
I don't feel judged by my dad, even though I don't know that my dad necessarily like, my dad, he grabbed hold of the stuff about Ifa that benefits him.
Okay.
Like
Got it.
having when I greet my babalao after ballet, and my dad be like, "You don't want ballet with me?" Like, I am not about to it is a thing that, if my dad acted like he had some sense consistently, I probably would greet him like, "Oh boy, eh,
Yeah, yeah.
baba." But you being a scoundrel, I can't even trust you to be consistently act like you got some sense.
I'm
But
screaming.
but with my mother, because my mother grew up totally separate from those practices, and of course the
Mhm.
mother carries so much, imparts so much of our beliefs into us. As my grandmother decreased some of her practices as a result of being super Christian in the Midwest, in a place where it wasn't as widely practiced as if she
Yeah.
would have stayed in Talladega. That means that by the time it got to my mother, the practices exist, but they have decreased. Which
Mhm.
means that by the time it gets to me, those practices exist, but we are the first generation of, you know, it's not a conversation. We're the first
Yeah.
generation who would full blown look at it and be like, "This is demonic for real in my
Yeah.
family,"
Yeah.
even though they had these practices. And I even brought up my mom and her siblings being called the city kids because whenever they would go to their grandmother's home, my grandmother's mother's home, she would make them, you know, kill the chickens and wring the neck and
Yeah.
do all the things, like
Yeah.
trying to give them back portions. But
Yeah.
what they my mother and I were talking about this recently, and I'm done with the sermon, but my mother and I were talking about this recently about how she wishes that she could go back and feel differently about it.
Mm.
Because as a child, she felt like they're trying to haze us, they're trying to, like,
Okay.
they're punishing us for not being from
Mm.
here. But and in some ways, that might have been it, honestly. In some ways, that is maybe how the cousins did their cousins maybe
Yeah.
did feel some kinda way about them because they were educated and had access to different things that they didn't have access to, and, you
Yeah.
know, that just, specifically about my family, right? But now as an adult, she looks back at it and she's like, because I had to do my first rooster sacrifice, and I was talking to her about it. It was making her uncomfortable, but whatever. So I was talking to her about it a while ago when it happened. My first priest sacrifice, like me, not somebody else
Mhm.
for me doing it. And it was just a big deal for me. And so my mom was just like, just very interested in that. Like, how did you feel? Da, da, da. And it brought up this memory for her of
Mm.
having to kill a chicken. Obviously, it's different from what I was doing, but there is still something there. There is still something there about not having relationship with the animals and understanding, the sacrifice that they made either, for us from a spiritual perspective or even for this will just be food for us, right? There's and because they were so disconnected from it, I'm very interested in how that adds to the demonization of
Yeah.
blood ritual that involves animals because you have like this totally skewed misconception of what's happening here. You just go get your chicken from the grocery store. You don't know
Yeah.
nothing about the fact that this animal actually has offered something for you
Mhm.
and that there is a beautiful
Yeah.
reverence that could happen if it wasn't for this huge disconnection from farm to, table, right? And
Yeah.
so how a
Yep.
lot of words to just say. I love hearing you talk about your family from Alabama and how your parents are able to navigate, in relationship with you, even if they don't consider themselves, right, the same.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
that
even like I thank you for sharing that too because I love that story and I feel like anyone who's listening who has I mean, so many of us just have these similar things and we just don't know. Or we think it's so unique.
uh-huh,
But I'm like, no, like these are our people. We
huh,
are our ancestors, truly.
huh,
We have their gifts, we have their features, their language,
good,
their
uh-huh.
recipes, like we have it. We are them. Um but yeah, like it's just, with time and patience and talking to them and just giving them the language that they weren't necessarily allowed to
Yeah,
have,
yeah, yeah,
like just,
uh-huh,
like giving them so much grace. I'm like, no, y'all grew up seeing coloreds only and whites only and, having to not deal or not being able to do certain things. But also, y'all had certain freedoms from being in the deep south where there was no a lot of white people around and
huh.
just the luxury of that. But yeah,
You
I
didn't know
love
how
it.
good you had it, did you, grandma?
Right. Right. Did not know all this land, all these acres. Man, no, it's beautiful. I told my dad earlier this year my father went to the cemetery because I found one of his aunts who passed away in the 70s. And they always told me growing up that I remind them of this aunt because she was a seamstress. And I was a wardrobe stylist before I got into reproductive health and nonprofits. But I was always kind of fascinated with this lady that everybody when I'm into fashion, so they like, oh, you into fashion, like your auntie like Mamie Lee, and I'm like, who is Mamie Lee and what is his name? That's so cool. But yeah, I found Auntie Mamie Lee. She passed away in the early 70s, and I found her because she died at and she lived in Los Angeles, which is where we live now. But found her about a year ago. I had her headstone cleaned. It had not been cleaned. I had it cleaned and restored, and I told my dad about it, and he was like, "What? Like, how did you do this? And why did you do this?" And I was like, well, I felt moved to, and I was being nosy, doing the genealogy. And it's part of just ancestor veneration. Like, she's very close. And he was just like, huh. And then a random day earlier this year, he, one of his younger siblings, 'cause my dad's the middle child of
Uh-huh,
5, so the younger brother came out here to visit, and they randomly was like, "Okay, we're gonna go visit auntie. Tell us how to get there." And and I told them what cemetery she was at, and then he calls me on FaceTime, and he's like, "Okay," 'cause you know how most cemeteries, they have, like, a help center, but, it's huge, and so I was like, "No, I could actually give you direction." He was like, "Yeah, because they told us, which garden she's in, but all this shit, we don't know. Like, where we at?"
uh-huh,
So I give them direction and I'm really precise. I'm like, "All right, unless they cut down the trees, there's 3 trees. You want to go to the second tree. She's in between tree 1 and tree 2. Tree 1 is at the corner where like there's numbers and here's the number." And I was like, "Now, you go down 4 rows towards the gate. And he's
Goodness.
like, all right. And he's on FaceTime. And you know how your parents are on FaceTime. You don't see
Not
them.
holding the camera right.
They be
Yeah.
here or they be that the camera down. I'm cracking up. And he's like, oh, okay. And then he's like, but I don't, what does it look? I was like, he's like, it's flat. And it's just quiet. And he's like, found her. And I was like, turn the camera around. Let me make sure. He was like, no, this her. I see her name. And I'm like, okay. And I see my other uncle, and he's on his knees, like brushing the dirt and like patting it. And they're like, okay, bye. And they get off the phone. And I'm like, and then later that day, I was like, so how was it? He was like, oh man. So we had our chairs. We had brought our chairs out and we sat out there and I pulled out a little liquor and I was just talking to my auntie. I was like, oh, that's so cool. He was like, yeah, like, he was like, it just felt so good. Like, you get blessings. When you bless them, they bless us. He was like, man, I ain't seen her since, I was a kid when she died because she died very young. She was only like maybe like 41, maybe like 41 or 43, somewhere in there. She passed away of cancer. And they were like maybe 12, 13 when she died.
He's so emotional
I
that
was
you were just out there.
Man, I cried
And he
too.
hung up on you. You're not even invited to this ceremony. You can't even come to this ceremony.
We found her. And I was like, y'all was out there for how long? He was like about 2 hours. We were like sitting out there because it was nice
Oh
out. We
my
just poured a
god.
little liquor out and we was just talking to her. And
Love that so much.
man, I was just like, wow, it just felt so good. It's like another level to
Yeah.
my relationship with my dad and
Yeah.
also this
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
other, something else that I felt like I opened up
Yeah.
in reclaiming, opened up and having this relationship with my ancestor, who I've never met, by the way. She
Alright.
passed away before you know what I'm saying? And it's just like, oh, and even when I went to visit, I'm thinking her like, I'm like, you're always brought up when I talk about my love for fashion and clothes and styling, because I did wardrobe for about 8 years, and they was
Uh-huh.
like, yeah, you are gonna be a seamstress, just like Mamie Lee. And so I thanked her for her gifts. I thanked her for just everything, and I just wanted a relationship. Man, but
Arrogant. I
hmm?
don't think I say this in the chapter in All the Black Girls Are Activists when I'm talking about In Pursuit of My Ancestors. I don't think I use this specific language.
Mhm.
Maybe in the next book I might have said something like this, but it feels very arrogant to
Mhm.
not participate in some way in ancestral reverence and veneration.
Mm.
How arrogant of you
Mhm.
to think that you get to be who you are without them.
Yeah.
And even when you say that, particularly to Christian people who feel very anti the idea of ancestral veneration, even though
Mhm.
it is biblical. But, you know, ho like "Oh, no, God gave me this." And Hope did that, so hopefully you don't have to go through that. Like, literally, your
Yeah.
elders, your ancestors made it whatever your experience is more spacious because Aunt Mamie Lee
Yeah.
had this experience. You
Yeah.
never needed to know her, meet her. Here's the proof of
Yeah.
that. The fact that you went through so many years of your life with people saying you, "Oh, it's so much like Mamie Lee, so much like Mamie Lee, this, da, 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 whatever." Consider that, just using my spiritual imagination in this moment,
Mhm.
what it meant for Mamie Lee to potentially be the first person to do the work that she was doing
Yeah.
and to not even be able to think about success, potentially just thinking about survival with this skill.
Yeah.
Now you get to do it and be playful. You get to do it
Mhm.
and know that somebody else in your family has done this and that
Mhm.
so even if we don't get into the deep spiritual implications, the literal reality of somebody telling you your Aunt Mamie Lee used to do
Yeah.
XYZ has created a spaciousness for you of possibility because you don't have to imagine yourself in that space as the first one because the first one has already done it.
Yeah.
So, who the heck do you think you are to not be like, "Auntie Baby,
Yeah.
girl, take this clean headstone at the very least." I can do that for you." Like, what in the
Yeah.
audacity?
Yeah, 'cause I just never just from hearing about well, I've been going to funerals since I was 4 or 5. I remember my first funeral when I was, like, 4 or 5 years old. So, I just always had this, I guess, just this thing with a spiritual relationship with someone who's passed away, and I also, yeah, didn't need to meet the person if I
Uh-huh,
hear the name and something stuck out and then it's brought up. So, yeah, but most of my ever since at least I was 10, hearing her name, being just natural and I just figured I remember, like, consciously figuring, like, "Okay, maybe this is why I'm naturally drawn to this
huh,
thing."
huh,
Or like this path like it's I made it up to this point and it's just natural. I can't help it. I may not be as great at this part, but I'm really good in this part and I just want
uh-huh,
to keep going with it and grow with it. And I feel that way about so many folks
mm,
in my family, which is why I truly for me root work, conjure work is one thing. But the root for me though is the veneration,
uh-huh,
the reverence, because it really truly it pours into me and I pour back and it keeps me going. Never been afraid of a cemetery. I go out and kick it myself. I am that person to wipe headstones, clean it myself, or find somebody else to come and professionally clean it. And I talk about that with other folks too all the time, not caring. And they're like, "What? I don't know." Like it's like what cemeteries are some of the most peaceful places.
it's gonna happen, guys.
Yeah,
Everybody's chilling.
everybody is chilling. Before we go, I did want you to, if you don't mind, talking about what you're working on right now and the future because I already I clocked a little T on the socials to peep what you're creating and the new space and programming.
Uh-huh.
But also, are we getting ready to write a new book or have we already started writing a new book?
It exists. It is with my editor as we speak, yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah, my
come
next
on.
book is called Real Soft Girl Shit. The subtitle is A Womanist Reclamation of Radical Vulnerability, and it's called Real Soft Girl Shit because it's dedicated to Meg the Stallion, AKA Megan Pete.
Nice.
And basically I am actually the foremother of softness. So everybody talking about softness, you're welcome. I introduced that language and that
Period.
definition years ago, separate from a Nigerian woman on social media years ago, on Twitter several years ago, was talking about having a soft girl life.
Mhm.
And we are not talking about the same thing. She was talking about luxury, which I applaud, but
Mhm. Mhm.
unfortunately, it has gotten out of control, and oftentimes when people are talking about softness or soft girl or, they're centering, luxury and/or they are passenger princesses, and so they're centering men in their narrative
Yeah.
some kind of way about being a soft girl. But when I introduce softness as a concept, as a radical tool for Black women's pursuit of sovereignty and of wholeness and of self-actualizing, believing that softness is something that will open up space for us to actually radically become, and that there is abundant capacity there, both tangibly and in, increasing who it is that we are. And the first person to actually introduce a definition of what I meant by softness, I really was in this space of realizing that um, I was a thug, thugged out, slightly bugged out, fuck with my tongue out. I was a thug,
No, that's
and
right.
yeah, I was a thug, and not that there's anything wrong with being a thug, but I felt it in my body, and I really got that, like, "Ooh, my body," every time I, got a book, 'cause if you knuck, I'm a buck. Yeah, every time and I'm living in this reality both, as a strong Black woman and, all
Yeah.
these things, I'm living in this reality, and it's really impacting my body. And it's really impacting the way that I exist in relationship with other people. It's really impacting all these things.
Yeah.
So I was working on other things, of course. All the Black Girls Are Activists was the first work that came to, became flesh. And
Yeah.
then Real Soft Girl Shit came to me years ago, really at the beginning of Meg the Stallion's the Tory Lanez issue,
Mhm, mhm.
that if Megan Pete, if Meg the Stallion, this beautiful, talented, wealthy Black woman can't have the support of her friends,
Yeah,
so-called friends, can't have the support of people in the industry, then what the heck we gonna do?
yeah,
And I've also dedicated the book to her specifically because I felt like, or I feel like she has been so soft in this
yeah,
journey.
in this whole
She's been
process.
so radically vulnerable. She has
Yeah,
cried. She has talked about therapy. She has said, "This hurts
yeah,
me." She has used language that a so-called strong Black girl or strong Black woman wouldn't historically reach for. She has said, "This hurts my feelings. I don't like this. This feels unfair." She's really used that kinda language, and so I dedicated, of course, real hot girl shit, so I came to real soft girl shit because I wanted to write a book both, um, supporting people and realizing that when I talk about soft girl, I'm not talking about what you talk about.
yeah,
I'm talking about this real soft girl shit, which is crying, which is
yeah,
weeping, which is moaning, which
yeah,
is, healing, which is, really getting honest about,
mm,
how I arrived here, and which is really confronting my relationship with other Black women, which is
yeah,
really confronting my relationship with Black men, which is really confronting um how I arrived at this strong Black girl, persona. This
mhm,
My public presentation can be super serious, and, because Black girls gotta be serious to be taken
yeah,
serious, and so when I talk about real soft girl shit, I'm talking about a deeply seated regulating nervous system, and it's radical and revolutionary, as my softness archetype, Toni Morrison, proves that it's possible to be deeply seated in your body and still do really
mm,
hard things.
mm,
That softness is not about, just luxury, even though I want you
yeah,
to, do the things that make you feel good, but softness is about our wellness and our wholeness. So Real Soft Girl Shit comes out in
mm,
2026, and
yeah,
I've just recently launched this, it's more than a book club, it's kind of a portal, a space, a pre-altar before we get to the actual ceremony, and it is, currently right now at Real Soft Girl Society on Instagram, and basically the goal is to give us the prerequisite materials, because I know that when Real Soft Girl Shit comes out, that there are going to be people who wanna critique both the fact that I am the foremother and the forefather of softness. I've done my research and my archive approves this. But also, people really feel some kind of way about Black women pursuing softness. It is
yeah,
really a thing. Both the luxury definition of it and this deeply seated, whole sovereign version of it.
yeah,
And so let's do some work. Let's talk about the elders and the ancestors who have been moving us in this direction in the first place.
yeah,
And let's, get our prerequisite materials. That way
yeah.
won't sound elitist in 2026 when
Okay.
you're in my comment section thinking you're telling me something, and I can tell you you're not qualified to have this conversation because you haven't even read the prerequisite material. So that's what's coming 2026, but I'm also just dreaming. I'm dreaming about um land in
Mm,
West Africa, and I'm dreaming about love, and I'm dreaming about um, deep, intimate community with my tribe, which is Black American women. So
mhm,
continuing to create conversations and programming that supports us in our becoming.
yeah.
And I'm sure some other stuff that I'm doing. Oh, and I'm reading romance novels all the time still. So that's just kind of what I'm doing in my life.
In the pursuit of
Yeah,
becoming.
in pursuit of my sovereignty. I just want to be actual Ebony Janice.
Yeah,
Because I believe that that's the only sin I believe in. If I believe in the concept of sin, should I leave this earth as not me, I have sinned against God.
mm,
That's the only thing that I came here to sent you to earth to be Ebony Janice and you was somebody else. Sin. No. So my sovereign self, that is the holy work that I was called here to do. So
Mm.
that's what I'm doing.
Ashe. Amen.
Amen.
Ashe.
I'm saying amen.
Thank you so much for talking to me. You said so much. I'm about to bust. It just I love it. I love it. It's much needed. It's right on time. I'm so glad we got a chance to chat. Yeah, cuz I was as you were talking, I was like, yeah, I think my softness is it's a radical softness.
Mhm.
Want the space to be vulnerable, the space to say hell no or nah. Like, seriously,
Mhm.
and yeah, and you mentioned, Toni Morrison. Toni Morrison, I feel is a huge inspiration for you, like, center point, and I love that, yeah, because when I think about Afeni Shakur a lot in that sense, with her being one of my favorite books was written by Jasmine Guy about Afeni that they essentially wrote together, in my opinion, but it was Jasmine Guy's debut book, and it's the only book she's written so far, and I can't wait to roll up on her and get her to sign it so I can talk to her about the book. But I love the book, and I felt like later in Afeni's life, she was in her pursuit of softness,
Mm, mhm.
mainly because of everything that she'd been through growing up as a child, um, being in the South with her parents, being treated how she was treated, and then having to fighting for her people when sometimes they did not fight back for her, when they did not love her back. And yeah, yeah, very, very much so. And yeah, and later in her life, deciding to because even in the book, she's so vulnerable and she's so honest about her trials and tribulations and things where it just went completely wrong. Um, and coming back to herself, which to me is so important in doing the work. So she comes up a lot for me in that in my fight today in the center point of my activism in reproductive health, reproductive justice, birth work, this work, even the work of eliminating the stigma of black spiritualities and creating communities. Like it's so I really love the path that you're on with this book and with the program. Now, can I wait a minute? Can I join this? Because it's more than a book club, but I want all parts.
No, absolutely, please.
Okay.
Like, I will continue to unveil different layers of it, so,
Yeah, yeah. Because
really, right now, that's,
it's yeah. Because it's I'm excited for you. Like it
no, yeah,
sounds
it's
so
not when I say it's not just a book club, I
yeah.
ultimately mean I'm going to be making recommendations, reading recommendations along the way.
Mhm.
I'm basically building a public curriculum and like
Yeah.
archiving that space to say, by the time Real Soft Girl Shit comes out, that I have ultimately proven my point
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
softness is something that we inherently deserve, that so many of our elders and ancestors have already been talking about it. One of the examples that I always use, and I think I use this in All the Black Girls Are Activists. I don't think I did actually. It's something I was thinking about at the time. But I'm talking about Angela Davis,
Mhm.
who didn't identify as a Black Panther, but was close friends with the Black Panthers. And she has consistently said that if the Black Panthers, what they believe is that if they would have been meditating, if they would have been doing yoga, if they would have
Mhm.
been taking care of themselves, whole spirit, soul, and body, that she fully believes that so many of them would still be alive, that the ones that
Mm.
are gone because of age or because of, some other condition, that there
Mhm.
would have been, but I don't even just think about the physical manifestation of sickness. I think about the spiritual manifestation
Yeah.
of discord, because if we
Yeah.
were meditating during, right now, right? If we are taking better care of ourselves, if we're really focused on actualizing, if we're like that is community building, that is, making sure
Mhm.
supporting one another, taking care of each other, that is passing along information in such ways that we are gatekeeping and Not because we don't love and care about the power for all people, but
Absolutely.
order for us to really understand and experience liberation, Black people have to be liberated. And that means that sometimes we have to have hush harbors and we have to have closed conversations and we have to have family discussions that
Mm.
other people just can't have access to.
Yeah.
And so all of that is spirit work. All of that is spirit work. And so right now in this moment, I feel like so deeply that we have the opportunity to heed the voice of our elders
Mhm.
who have been profound in both the dissemination of language and information and giving us language for how we are to be doing this freedom work that we're doing,
Mhm.
but also are the proof of what will happen if we don't.
Yeah.
We know what happens. We saw it happen in Ferguson. We
Yeah.
see it happening right. There is no movement for justice that can be separate from a spiritual, holistic movement. And that will require us to be able to sit down in our bodies
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
really, you know, do the work of regulating our nervous system,
Yes.
do the work of experiencing ourselves as precious and tender and worthy in these bodies, not of we'll understand it better by and by, which is so much of what our elders and ancestors understood of what our understanding. I want mine now.
Yeah. Like, this lifetime,
This
right
lifetime,
now,
this
right
body,
now.
this body, and my grandmother and her mother did not create this spaciousness for me to be talking about the same things
Yeah.
they were talking about, especially not in the same way. And so, what a privilege that I'm standing on their shoulders.
Mhm.
I'm literally standing on their shoulders, and as a result of
Yes.
me standing on their shoulders, I can see something that they were not able to see. I'm privileged to see from this space because I'm standing on their shoulders. And the thing that I see, I know it. I know it. I know this framework works because I am healing myself. I'm healing my family. I'm healing my community. We're restoring. We have support. We are taking care of ourselves. We're expanding, right? I know these frameworks work because I lived it, baby boys and girls. I am living it. So, yeah, it's a really, um, an altar before we get to the ceremony. The ceremony is real soft girl shit, but the altar is like, okay, we gotta pray and we gotta read
Mhm.
the hymn, we gotta sing a hymn, we
Mhm.
got devotion, we gotta do offering, we gotta, have a little A and B selection from the choir. That's what's happening in real soft girl society.
Mm. Thank you for doing this work. Thank you for having this having this idea, this moment, and wanting to share it and not making it just about you, your journey, and your healing. But I mean, you said it earlier, like you're protective of Black women and you love Black women, and it truly shows in the work that you're doing. And I'm so happy for you. I'm so grateful for you. Thank you for talking to me, for a little girl talk. I needed it. I truly needed it. Um, yeah, I'm excited for you. So y'all, don't sleep on Ebony Janice. It's not too late to pick up your copy of The Black Girls Are Activists. If you a little late to the game, it's not too late. You ain't late. You right on time.
Huh?
Because Soft Girl Shit is coming out 2026 and we got a curriculum coming. We got some homework. Thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. All right, y'all. You've been listening to The Practice of a Hoodoo Baptist, covered by spirit, guided by blood. Until next time.